Alright, what's going on? We're talking Kenobi, and so this will be my raw thoughts on the series as a whole. I think the way I want to do this is that I want to talk about episode 6 first, the finale, talk about things I like in that episode, talk about things maybe I didn't like, slap a rating on it, and I do want to talk about the series as a whole, my thoughts on it. Do I think it was worth it? Do I really think the series was needed? And maybe where I think it should go from here. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new. But let's talk about episode 6 first, and then we'll talk about the whole series. So for the finale, I actually watched it twice now. The first time I watched it, I actually didn't love it, but the setting in which I was watching it wasn't the most immersive atmosphere to watch a finale. So then when I watched it a second time, I was really able to I turned all the lights off, I got popcorn, soda, fully immerse myself in what I was watching, and I did like it a lot better. I think having the dark atmosphere made the certain colors in the scenes pop out more, especially when Vader fought Kenobi. And in general, I did love the finale. Everything with Kenobi and Vader, I think was awesome. I loved almost everything in that whole fight and their interaction. The only problem with that episode is Reva. And I hate saying this because I do think Reva's an interesting character. I just don't think she belonged in this series at all. And that's one of my main problems I'm going to talk about when I talk about the series as a whole, is the inclusion of other characters that are cool and I like their inclusion, but in a 6-episode series of Kenobi where they really needed. So now, in the very beginning of the finale, I loved how we see Vader's passion for finding Kenobi. Even when the Grand Inquisitor tries to inform him that we can go and destroy, the other ship, he says, no, we have to go after Kenobi. He's not just a Jedi. And I love that line, and it really shows that drive that Vader has right now to destroy his former master. So while he's doing this, we keep cutting to Reva, who wants to go after Luke, who I guess she knows is Anakin's son. And she also knows that Luke is on Tatooine, which I think is sort of a huge retcon and shouldn't really be included, the fact that someone else knows that Luke is Anakin's son and is on Tatooine. And the fact that, I'm going to talk about this at the end of the episode, that Obi-Wan even lets her live with that information does sort of bug me. So I'm just going to talk about the Reva Luke thing as a whole right now because I don't want to really talk about it at all. I just didn't care for it because we all know that Luke is going to survive, right? Luke obviously doesn't die in this episode or in this series because we see him in A New Hope and everything else. So every single time that we saw Reva go after Luke, it felt hollow, it felt unneeded, it didn't have any high stakes to it because we know the outcome, So when they were showing Reva about to strike down Luke, or even at the end when she's holding him and we think that he's dead, it's sort of all right, get this off my screen. We know Luke is alive. There's no point to this besides having it be Reva's redemption to the light side, I guess, or wherever she goes from here. And I think Reva, her redemption arc is cool. I enjoy. At first, I didn't like her character, but now, after episode 5, I did like her a little bit more. I want to learn more about her. But like I said, in a Kenobi series, when we cut away from Vader and Vader and Obi-Wan fight to cut to Reva chasing after Luke, it was just all right, this is dumb. I don't care about this. Yes, it is cool to see Owen Lars defending his home and defending Luke, but even that was just sort of unneeded. But now we finally get to see the rematch of the century, as Kathleen Kennedy said it, as we get the real fight between Kenobi and Vader in this series. And I loved the fight. I loved everything about it. I thought the choreography was great. The dialogue between them was great, as I'll touch on in a little bit. The one thing that does bug me a little bit is right before they first fight, I love the line when Vader says, "Have you come to destroy me, Kenobi?" And Kenobi just says, "I will do what I must." The same line from Revenge of the Sith. I just thought it was really weird and sort of pulled me out of the scene that he says the same exact line in Revenge of the Sith. And then Vader's response is just what he says in Rebels to Ahsoka, where he says, "Then you will die." Which, why are you using the same exact, sort of iconic Star Wars dialogue from other series or movies in this? I feel like it would have been a better touch to create your own new meaningful dialogue. If Kenobi said something else besides, "I will do what I must," and Vader's saying something else than what he says to Ahsoka in Rebels, it just sort of not takes away from those moments. It just makes me feel weird. Why are you using the same exact writing? But then as we fight, I love the moment when Obi-Wan's summoning all those rocks. It shows the power that he has now. Good character development for him as he goes along. He throws all the rocks in him. Vader sort of takes it. They fight. Obi-Wan sort of breaks his whole breathing system, so we get that cool, iconic sort of broken up breathing that we hear, I think, in Return of the Jedi, and I thought it was just a cool moment. And then we get again when Kenobi takes off his helmet or he breaks Vader's helmet, and that was definitely a callback to Rebels where Ahsoka does the same thing. I didn't really think they were going to do that in this series just because I feel like in Rebels it was like a insanely cool moment to see that when Anakin looks up and he says Ahsoka, and it was just like, holy shit, like I've never seen anything like that. But not everyone has seen Rebels, and I think it was a really cool moment. So if they have to put it in here where everyone's watching Kenobi, every sort of Star Wars fan, it really is sick to see that, to see Anakin's eyes in that helmet. And he even comes out a little bit here as we hear like his voice and Vader's voice. I thought that was awesome. We even see Obi-Wan saying like, I'm sorry to Anakin, which was, Ewan McGregor just absolutely killed this part. It was very emotional. I didn't tear up. I feel like I should have, but like anyone that did, like I totally get it. Like it was a really powerful moment, a phenomenal moment actually. I really did love this moment where he says like, I'm sorry for everything. Like he's literally tearing up in front of Vader, and Vader even gives him some sort of like closure, and he says, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. And I think that was phenomenal, like writing or phenomenal line delivery, dialogue, whatever. It was so good. Because it's true though, like really like Obi-Wan did fail Anakin in some sort of ways in terms of like maybe like he could have done more. But Vader is the one that really manipulated Anakin Skywalker. And Anakin Skywalker his sort of path to the dark side really led to him sort of killing himself in a way. Like he gave himself up to the dark side. And when he did that, he was no longer the Anakin Skywalker that we knew, but he was, like Sidious says, Darth Vader. So I thought it was awesome when he says that. Obi-Wan even gets some closure, like I said. Vader looked awesome in the mask with his helmet off. He actually looked perfect, Hayden Christensen. And then it does feel sort of quick though, like the goodbye. Like Obi-Wan sort of leaves Vader in like this broken state, and then he just says like goodbye Darth, and then like just walks away. It sort of mirrors the part in Revenge of the Sith where the last time he sees Anakin as Anakin before their fight, he says goodbye old friend. And in this moment he says goodbye Darth, as in saying like, he even says like, then my friend is truly dead. So it was a nice mirroring of scenes, but like it really just wants me wanting more. Like I just want more Kenobi and Darth interactions or whatever, which maybe we'll get in a season 2, but I don't really want like that many Obi-Wan versus Darth fights before like A New Hope. We already got 2 here, which is like 1 more than I thought we were gonna get. So to get like 1 or 2 more in season 2, like it could work. I mean, they could do it. It's just I don't know. Like I don't want like too much of that. But after this, then we have Kenobi sensing Luke is in danger, so he goes there. This is where Reva has like her whole like redemption thing. Who cares? Like honestly, like, who cares? Like I just, everything that everyone's talking about with this episode or the whole series as in general is about like Kenobi and Vader. Like Reva is really not, like no one's really talking about her. And I think they actually did disservice to that character by including her in this. Like what everyone's here for. Why are you gonna throw in this character that you're giving her just too much screen time, like you're trying to build her up, like I get it, but like just give her own show. And I think people would have digested it more and liked her a little bit more if she just did her own thing and not just be sort of plugged into this Kenobi show. So this is where I get a little bit mad that she redeems herself. She's like, what do I do now to Kenobi? And Kenobi sort of says like, you can be whoever you want now. You can go do whatever you want. Like she throws the Inquisitor lightsaber. I like that. I just don't like that Kenobi's gonna let her go with this information. Not even at least like a mind wipe, or I know he probably wouldn't kill her, but like Luke is the most important asset on this planet right now. Like he's like, Kenobi thinks that he's the chosen one now, right? And he's gonna let this former Grand Inquisitor go with the information that Luke is on Tatooine and that he is Anakin's son. Like I just feel like he shouldn't let that happen. But I guess it's fine. Like it's, I guess it's not that big of a deal. But after this, we see Vader again, and he's talking to Sidious, which was great cameo by Ian McDormand. And I wish we had more Sidious throughout the show. Like I loved to see him in here. I was happy to see him in the finale. I just wish we got a little bit more, because I feel like Vader should be talking to Sidious a little bit more throughout this series. And then we get the Imperial March theme, which is great. Another one of my problems for the series as a whole that I'm going to talk about is that why are you like leaving all the great music to the very end? You have it all at your disposal. Like use that great music throughout. Like even when Vader fights Kenobi, like use the music. Like that's what makes Star Wars, literally. And even like other mediums like the video games, and like they use the music to their advantage. And I think that this show could have easily done that, and it would have made the product a little bit better if you used the great music throughout. So now we get like some conclusion with Leia and stuff like that, which was, again, was Leia needed for this show? No. Was there too much focus on her? Yeah. But I did think she was like a nice kitty, like delightful touch. Like any young kids or any young girls watching it it's like a nice vibe for them. I just wish they just did like their own Leia show then, and watch maybe like Leia grow up as a kid and teen years and finally being an adult in her own little show. I think it would have been better suited there instead of just, again, throwing her into a Kenobi series where everyone's just here for Kenobi and Vader. But I did also enjoy in this episode when Kenobi tells Leia about her mother and all this stuff. I thought it was really nice. And then he even says to like be careful with our relationship because it could endanger us both. And I think that was actually really important to sort of put in here because it does make sense of like why her holocron and New Hope is so vague when she says, "Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, your only hope." Like she's trying to be vague in there, like not trying to talk about like their relationship, I guess, because it could endanger them. And that was one thing I was looking out for in this series of like, okay, Leia and Kenobi are so close in this series. Why do I not feel that connection in A New Hope? Now, obviously, it's because George Lucas never planned for this series or for this moment to happen. Like, this is Disney making up their own stuff. But you need to obviously make stuff make sense for A New Hope, and it all needs to lead up to A New Hope, and it all needs to connect and make sense and all this stuff, right? So after this, then we finally get to see Qui-Gon as a Force Ghost. This is another Disney retcon, as we know from the Clone Wars. Qui-Gon never was able to actually become a Force Ghost. Like, he could only interact with his voice, and he never actually was able to learn how to become a Force Ghost, and that's why we never got to see him in Return of the Jedi. But now in the show, he shows up as a Force Ghost, which is great. I'm happy to see Liam Neeson back. As Qui-Gon, he looked great. He did have some like dwarfish ears, which sort of threw me off, but I'm just happy that he showed up here, and it was great to see. But it does now raise the question, like, why doesn't he show up in Return of the Jedi as a Force Ghost? Like, but I guess that doesn't matter either. Maybe he just didn't want to be there. So my rating for this episode is like a 4.5 out of 5. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me. It would be a 10 out of 10 if just the Rev and Luke stuff weren't in there, and that's just me being honest. I already just talked about it, but like everything with Vader and Kenobi here was phenomenal, great. Everything else I could have done without. And it leaves me some questions. Like the one thing I said, Kenobi and Reva, why did he let her go with this information? And so now I want to talk about this series as a whole. And so my main takeaway with this series is that I just think it should have been a movie. I think these characters deserve to be on the big screen, deserve to have all that box office money. Star Wars is always, a staple in cinema. Like, why isn't this movie or this show, whatever, not in the big screen? The story of Obi-Wan Kenobi at this time should have been up there in like a 2.5 hour movie. Cut out everything with Reva and maybe Leia, and just substitute all those moments with more of those quiet Obi-Wan moments of him trying to talk to Qui-Gon, maybe him doing some other sort of like activity on Tatooine with like the civilians, like kind of like what he was probably supposed to be doing, looking over Luke, or like maybe like fighting off like Tusken Raiders or something like that, and then actually showing the power of Vader, which I love in the series. That's why I love Episode 5 when Vader stops that ship. I love that moment because it really showed like that Vader, this is peak Vader now, And so I would have sort of taken out all the Reva stuff and substituted it with like the Vader stuff, maybe Sidious sending Vader out on a quest, but then keep everything else, everything with the interactions between Vader and Kenobi, keep that. Keep everything with like Qui-Gon at the end, Sidious at the end, but like everything with like the Reva, I just don't think it was needed. I don't. I think it just made for a distraction from what we really wanted. And I did give her a chance, and I do like her character. I just think her story shouldn't have been in this series. I don't think it really interacts or flows as well. Now, obviously, she was toying with Vader, but Vader was also like manipulating her in a way. Why was Vader toying with her? So Vader knew the whole time that she was a youngling, or maybe he figured it out at some point or whatever, right? Why is he letting her just go up the ranks of the Inquisitors just to finally kill her like at the right moment? Why not just strike her down? Like, if she knows you're Anakin, like, why not just strike her down and that's it? Why are you like manipulating her, toying with her? For like what reason? Just to like have some fun? Like, just like, I just, that still bugs me. Like, why did he manipulate Reva? For like what reason? Unless he just didn't know from the beginning that she was a youngling, and then like right before episode 5, like he learns from somewhere, like we don't even know how, and then that's why he like just strikes Reva, and like he says, "You think I didn't know?" I don't know. That still sort of bugs me. Okay, so now I just want to do like a quick rundown of every episode, talking about like just a quick rundown. So for episode 1, I think this is a great start, and then like this, I'm trying to explain like my thoughts on the whole series, starting with episode 1. So I think it was a great setup. I think showing Kenobi where he is now, seeing Reva, like what kind of character she is, her like confronting Owen Lars, seeing Obi-Wan try to talk to Qui-Gon not answering, seeing the Grand Inquisitor, like them trying to track down the Jedi. It was a good setup to like what this series is probably going to look like. And then by the end, where he sets off to go and save Leia, it was like, okay, like this could be really cool. I thought it was a great start, right? In episode 2, this is where I do think that episode 2 was one of the weaker episodes, maybe the weakest, as the most memorable thing was sort of like the chase scene with Leia as Reva's chasing both of them. Leia thinking Kenobi like wasn't really with her, so she runs away. Kenobi's like chasing her. We meet like the fake Jedi, and we see like the Clone Wars cameo of Tamora Morrison as the homeless clone. Had some cool moments. I do like at the end as we see Kenobi realizes that Anakin is alive, you know, and that Vader also senses Kenobi's presence as Reva tells her. I'm still upset that like Reva's the one that told Kenobi this information, but I'm not as mad as I once was when I first heard it. Like, it's fine now. Like, that's the one thing with the show. Like, I know a lot of people are looking at it as if like we could have gotten so more. Like, I would have done this differently. I would have done this, or blah 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 blah. Like, they should have done this. And I do think like that sometimes while I'm watching, but I also know that like whatever they're showing us, like this is it. Like, this is canon. Like, this is what it's going to be forever. This is the story, and I want to just absorb it as much as I can, because I know that in a couple of years from now, like I may look on this series in even a much better way than I already do. Like you'll see by my rating at the end what I think. But stuff like this just grows on you. You know, like people hated the sequel trilogy at first. A lot of people still do. I still don't like it. Actually, I do hate it more and more as I think about it. But there are moments and stuff from there that are canon now. Again, they're real. So you have to just accept it and sort of make sense of it, and maybe you'll learn to like it a little bit more. Same with the prequels. A lot of people hated the prequels in the beginning. Like, a ton of people. People walked out of the theater, diehard Star Wars fans were like, this is dumb. And I think for a lot of people, the prequels sort of grew on them. I know a lot of us grew up with them, and now that kids watching them, we grew up and we like them more. But I think, you know, George Lucas just had a story there, and if you look at the moments of Anakin's fall, you can sort of make sense of things more, and that's, you know, the story. So you just take it and you try to make the best out of it. And I think that's the same with Kenobi. I think eventually people will just accept it for what it is, especially when someone makes, you know, like a YouTube video of just the Kenobi and Vader good moments, and they cut out all the Reva stuff, and it's like an hour-long thing. You know, like maybe people will be like, wow, this show was actually really cool. Like, look at all the things that they did. And the people that don't like it right now maybe will like it more. So for episode 2, like I said, a weaker episode, but now continuing on to episode 3. This episode I actually liked a lot. Thinking back on it, this episode, I feel like I should have rated it a little bit lower. But this is where I really sort of learned that, like, I don't like the show doesn't feel low budget. I just don't think it has, like, the budget that it should. Like, I look at shows like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, and for the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones and for Stranger Things now, like, you can tell, like, the writing has a lot of love and care for it, and it's a very intricate, thought-provoking sort of product. And Stranger Things just got an hour-long episode for each. We're now going to get a 2.5-hour finale. And I just think that if you're going to make Kenobi a series, which I don't even think that should have been, I think it should have been a movie. If you're going to make it a series, give it the love and the care that it deserves. You know, like, give it all the money. Make it hour-long episodes. This is where I just started to realize, like, the writing isn't really all there. And as I look back at the series as a whole, it's like some episodes with, like, saving Leia in episode 4, that feels very filler. The story, besides, like, the Kenobi and Vader moments, isn't really all there. It's all really just saving Leia. It's like Logan. It's just like the Mandalorian Grogu, like the old man, little girl sort of vibe. That's very, like, right now it feels lazy because we've seen it all before so many times. I just feel like this show didn't get as much care as I wanted it to. But that being said, in episode 3, I like how we get to see Hayden Christensen. Like, I liked how Kenobi has like that PTSD of hallucinating Anakin. Seeing like the Vader suit up scene was awesome. We get to actually see the fight between Kenobi and Vader for the first time. I could have done without this fight now that I got the second fight, but it was a cool moment to see like how weak Kenobi is, and Vader sort of again toying with him. Like, I don't know like why he's just toying with everyone. I guess he wants Kenobi like in his full strength, which is fine. I love seeing Vader pull Kenobi into the fire, him burning him the same way Kenobi sort of burned Anakin Revenge of the Sith. Again, could he have just walked through the fire and went after Kenobi? Yes, 110% he could have. But he was just toying with him, I guess. I guess he just wanted him at his full strength, which is fine. Doesn't really feel like Vader too much, but, it's fine. So now going to the next episode, like I said, this is where it felt very filler. I sort of put this on the same tier as episode 2, as Obi-Wan has to go find Leia in the Grand Inquisitor Fortress. Again, too much Reva and Leia. I did like how Kenobi sort of comes into his own in this episode as he sort of taps into the Force more, he uses lightsaber more, and he's able to save Leia. It does have some other cool moments where we see that there are some Jedi that are frozen or in some sort of being preserved underneath the Grand Inquisitor Fortress. That was interesting. It had moments like that where, again, it was like sort of thought-provoking, but then they don't even like follow up in it in this series at least, so I guess maybe we'll see in maybe the Fallen Order games or maybe in Kenobi Season 2, but for right now, we don't really know what's going on there. But now moving on to episode 5, this was my favorite episode. Besides the awesome flashbacks, I love seeing, like I said, the power of Vader. I think just the story also it was like a very concrete story. It sort of reminded me like The Last Jedi, sort of like end battle as Kenobi's trying to help all these people escape, but they need like a distraction to escape, so he tries to like distract them, confronts Reva, confront Vader, and it was I just enjoyed it. It had some good moments like the Imperial spy, that girl dies with the droid. We learn the backstory of Reva. We get to learn like what her actual plan is, how she's not really working with Vader, but she's hunting him, like how Kenobi says. And that's what made me like Reva a little bit more, so I appreciated that was in there. And then, like I said, like Vader, literally like the moment when he stops the ship and brings it down, I love that. And then the fight between him and Reva was some of the best lightsaber choreography like I've ever seen in Star Wars. I thought it was tremendous. So this is solidified for me as my favorite episode. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 when I first reviewed it. And it sort of stays like that. So now I just talked about episode 6. So my rating for Kenobi as a whole right now is a 4.2 out of 5. I think it was great. I think I was pretty satisfied. It does have some problems that mostly concern Reva, and Leia's fine, but like I said, just her inclusion was a little bit much, and how much screen time she has. I think, again, it's almost like the way I can describe it is that as a Star Wars fan, I love the moments in the show, and I think what they gave us was very satisfying. But as an actual movie and TV show fan, where I'm looking for good writing or good cinematography or good location settings or good pacing, I don't think that's all there. When I look at this series as a whole in terms of a 6 episodic limited series, I don't think it's very strong in terms of writing and pacing and the characters that they included. It's not a strong series. Anyone who's not a diehard Star Wars fan but likes the movies or whatever, they may eat this up because there is a lot of good stuff to eat. But then it's also I don't know. The show's really weird to talk about in terms of how good it actually is. Is the show good or are the moments just good? That's what I feel a little weird about. It's the Vader and Kenobi stuff was all great, but everything else was okay-ish. That's why maybe I think as a movie, it would have been so much better. Having that theater experience of sitting there, watching the Kenobi fight Vader, the dialogue, it would have hit you more. Because not everyone has the sound system that, that some people have. Some people watching this on their phone, their monitor, or during the day and the lighting, so some people, I think it just should be this atmospheric thing. Star Wars belongs on the big screen. That's when it's great. Now obviously The Mandalorian has proven that you can do Star Wars on television and it could still be one of the best products of that Star Wars ever put out there. I know that's proven. But you have the Kenobi series, you now have the Cal Kestis rumored series, you have Cassian Andor, you have the Reva rumored series, you have all these TV show announced things, and then we don't even know like where the Star Wars movies are going or where they're at. It's like, why aren't you capitalizing on that? You see Marvel, they have all the box office movie hits, they have all the TV show hits as well. Why can't Star Wars have their time like on the big screen? Now I know Rise of Skywalker was their last movie on the big screen, right? But that was 2019. That's almost 4 years ago now. 2019 was almost 4 years ago. I think it's just time for them to be on the big screen. I think Kenobi would have been a perfect reintroduction back into that universe in a theater-like experience. But honestly, overall, like I could talk forever about this series. I kind of want to maybe like do like a live, like if anyone, like just like, I love just seeing like where everyone else is at. 'Cause I know some people love this series. I know some people hate it. And I think for the people that hate it, like I just completely understand like why they hate it. Like that's not how I feel, but like I just like sympathize with that side of the audience. Like I know what you're saying. Like I understand like the points that you're making in terms of like where the characters are at, or like like the problems that they have, I think are valid. And the people that love it, like I totally get it as well. Like the moments, and even like like just enjoy what you enjoy. And I did enjoy this a lot. I gave a 5 out of 5 episodes. I gave it like a 4.7. The finale was a 4.5. Like for me, like not every series gets that, and I just think that obviously I'm a biased Star Wars fan, so I'm gonna eat up whatever they give me. And this was a very good series, I guess. I think when I like, it's something that on like when I go to YouTube and I want to like watch the good stuff, like I'll be satisfied with the good stuff. In terms of like rewatchability, like am I really gonna rewatch this whole entire series ever again? With the Reva stuff, everything. Maybe one day, maybe if I learn to care more about Reva as we get the Reva show or whatever they do with her, maybe her stuff will be a little bit more digestible for the show. But honestly, like it's like I can rewatch the Star Wars movies anytime I want. A New Hope, Empire, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, Rogue One, whatever I enjoy, I can always rewatch it, and it's like a 2-hour experience. I have the music and I'm immersed, and it's great. For a series though, it's almost like same with The Mandalorian. Like, have I watched anything of The Mandalorian? Like rewatched it? I really haven't. It's just like not as digestible as a movie. And I think for Kenobi, like it just should have been a movie. I just really wish it should have been a movie. I wish we got more Qui-Gon stuff. And someone even said that like the ending of this series teased an even better show, as in like Obi-Wan now can interact with Qui-Gon. They can have some more nice discussions now. Qui-Gon could teach him in some ways to really become like the Ben Kenobi that we see in A New Hope. And that's what I thought we were going to get in this season. We all see Vader's like, I think Vader like really wants to find Kenobi now. He says to Sidious, like, I'm going to find Kenobi, like I want him now. And he's like, Sidious even says, I sense the conflict in you, which is huge. That's a big thing in the original trilogy, is that there is conflict in Vader throughout that whole trilogy. And Vader even tells him, like, I only listen to you, like, you're my master. And so, like, now what? Like, Vader is just going to, like, try to track down Kenobi but never find him for 10 years until A New Hope. I mean, that sort of makes sense. But there's just a lot to discuss with the show. Like, I can't wait to watch, like, more videos on, like, what people are saying about this finale, or, like, there's a lot of, like, loose ends. And I've already talked for way too long about this. But in general, I did like the series. I did enjoy it. In terms of the live action Star Wars shows right now, I would say that Mando season 1 and 2 are a tier or maybe 2 tiers above Kenobi's show. I think Mando's some of the best Star Wars I've seen in a very long time. And then it goes Kenobi, and then it goes Book of Boba Fett. I think Book of Boba Fett, I liked it as well. Just that had a lot of problems as well. So that's just my thoughts on Kenobi. What do you guys think, though? Did you guys love it? Is this like one of your favorite Star Wars pieces of content? Like, do you plan on rewatching like the whole thing? Or did you hate it? Like, I see a lot of people hating it, and I totally get it. So let me know down below what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this probably long ass video now, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new. But I will see you on the next video. Have a great rest of the day.